So Argentina have just pulled off a historic win over the Springboks, 29 points to 28 in a game that was so close for a majority. But we have to remember at the start of this game, the Springboks were extremely clinical. They were 17-0 up to then have Argentina slowly work their way back into the game and end up winning it by the 1 point. And in this review, we'll be looking through at who were the try scorers, the key players, the big moments throughout this game, and also what is next, as both of these sides have the opportunity for that Rugby Championship title when they do go head-to-head next week in South Africa. But throughout this game, it was fast-paced, even though the game was being played in 36-plus degree heat. You wouldn't have actually thought it from the pace of the game, the way that these two sides were trying to play. It was actually very open, which I think benefited Argentina at times, although straight away from the get-go, we saw the Springboks strike, get him the try of Apalele Fassi, and then not too far after, another try of Jesse Kriel. Argentina, they found themselves 17-0 down, needing to try and find their way back into the contest, and they slowly did. Mateo Carrera scored, Pablo Matera scored, and there was also a yellow card of Kurtley Arnsson. Now, I will say it was a little bit of a controversial one. Some felt maybe he didn't make head contact. I was one of them, but it ended up being a yellow card, and it was an extremely costly one, as 2 tries were scored throughout that 10-minute period for the Argentines, including the second try of that 10-minute period going to Joel Scalavi. We also saw a try from Thomas Albanoz. When you talk about players who really stepped up for this game, he was one of them. He was phenomenal in that 10 jersey for the Springboks. I should mention they also had one other try. It was Cobus Reinach who did the quick tap and managed to get over the line. And then we saw a few penalties going back and forth throughout that second half. Argentina leading at halftime, only getting 3 points throughout the second 40. The Springboks getting 6, but they could have had a lot more. And that is something they will be pretty disappointed about. But overall, just a really great game of rugby to watch. I know that some people wouldn't agree in that regard, but in terms of from a neutral perspective, the back and forth, the flair that was being shown by both sides in terms of their attack, Argentina, their backline looked crisp, Springboks, their forwards looked physical, and it was that set piece later on in the game, the scrum in particular, that looked like that was going to help the Springboks get over the line. We saw Eben Etzebeth make his way onto the field relatively early. His line-out steals were extremely crucial as the match started to wear on. Marco van Staden in the starting lineup for the Springboks. He got a couple crucial turnovers, but overall, I don't think there were too many other players for the Springboks that had a massive game throughout the 80 minutes. Oxenshare, actually, I would have to throw him into that category. The big man did as much as he physically could. Reinach wasn't that impressive at 9, having a few errors and trying to be too fancy at times when the Springboks should have just passed it out the back line. At the end of the day, when you look through at this side, Reinach, Pollard, Mapimpi, Lukanyuam, Jesse Kriel, Kurtley Arnsson, and Apalele Fassi, you've got enough skill there that you don't have to try a backwards kick over your head when no one is chasing it, or a grubber when no one was ready to try and put in the chase either. So that is one criticism I would say. Jaden Hendrickson actually almost fell into that same trap that Reinach did. But Argentina, anytime they kick that ball downfield, one thing is for sure, the Springboks are extremely dangerous in their back 3 in the way that they are able to run the ball back. But for Argentina, Albanoz, like I mentioned, was solid. Juan Cruz Malia at the back, he was going to be crucial going into this game of whether or not the Argentines would be defensively sound. And Mateo Carreras, what more can you say about that man other than he is absolutely world class? He's got pace, he's got power. Just him tussling with Kurtley Arnsson down by the wing to try and throw him into touch. You can see that he's got commitment as well. So a fantastic player for the Pumas throughout this contest. But nonetheless, this one is just a short little review about the game. We might have another video going a little bit more in depth in the future, but of course we have also got the upcoming video where we will be predicting who the Springboks will be going with in next week's game. I think that they have to make changes. They went experimental here. Some of the players stepped up, but others did let them down a little bit throughout the 80 minutes. But in terms of what is next, the Pumas will be heading to South Africa. They did receive the bonus point here, the Springboks, so they now move up to 19 points. The Pumas, they are sitting on 14. So theoretically, in this next game, If the Pumas won by 8, they would win the Rugby Championship because of the head-to-head, because of the tiebreakers that they do have for the competition. All the Springboks need is a singular point, even if they were to lose, which I do think would be very unlikely to happen in 2 games in a row up against Argentina, definitely on South African soil. If they get just 1 point, the Springboks will be crowned as Rugby Championship winners. But thank you all very much for tuning in. Do let me know what you thought of this game. I didn't want to mention it too much, but that late kick missing for the Springboks, it did hurt them. But at the end of the day, there were many moments throughout this game that could have changed it. And in the end, Argentina, they had 1 more point than their opposition. But thank you all very much for tuning in. If you did enjoy, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. And I will see you all for the next one.